Coming up on this episode of the Hitstreak.
If you do find yourself feeling down or upset or something's going on in your life, whatever, just one encouraging thing is Christmas can help with this. You talked about going out and seeing the lights, but honestly, a change of scenery, right?
Yeah.
Like just changing the environment and doing whatever you can. Again, it's movement. It's fighting for that.
Yeah.
Don't sit and be stagnant and wallow in something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Here is how Dr. Aaron Pryor changed my life. I used to hide my smile, covering my mouth in photos, holding back in conversations, even avoiding big moments. I didn't realize how much it was holding me back until I got my brand new veneers at Pryor Family Dentistry. It's not just my teeth. It's my confidence, my energy, my entire life. Visit PryorFamilyDentistry.com to book a consultation. Your life-changing smile awaits. Whoa, 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 whoa. Check this out. Some of the world's biggest success stories started with nothing. Just grit, hustle, and a story worth hearing. If you've got a story that people need to hear, this is your shot. If you've been through the fire and came out stronger, you belong on this show. Email management@nickhyder.com or comment or DM the word Hitstreak to apply. The Hitstreak is where rags to riches stories have been told, and the next one could be yours. Blessings, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the Hitstreak. I am your man, Nick Hyder. And folks, it is that time again. Christmas time is here. You know how much we love it around here. And I got my, it's his fourth time. This is our fourth Christmas episode since we launched the Hitstreak, 4 years ago. And he has been the guest on each and every single one of these. And much like the challenge in his job, he has to help me recreate the story of Christmas yet again, right? Yet again. And folks, it's a great time. We're here to have a good time. And let me give this dude a proper introduction. It's his fifth time as a guest here. We went back and counted. So he's a member of the Five Timers Club. So if this was Saturday Night Live, he'd get a robe, right? So we got to get him something, a belt. Let's get him a belt. We'll get him a belt, Jensen. All right, folks, check it out. He is the senior pastor of Crosswalk Church and the host of the Chase the Sunset podcast launching in 2026. Folks, give it up for my man, Pastor Josh Huisman. Pastor, how we doing?
Thank you, Nick. Man, it is awesome to be here. So we were joking around about 5 times on the show and the robe and the belt and all that fun stuff. And so, man, we missed a golden opportunity for a great intro as far as coming in and passing the robe and doing the whole thing. And it would have been awesome to do that. And everyone maybe have a little congratulations drink out in the front lobby and whatever and do the cigars and the whole thing. But man, it's an honor to be on here. I love talking about Christmas. Love getting a chance to see your studio and everything that's going on here. And so it's an honor always. And thank you for having me.
Well, we the cool thing about the Christmas episode for me is obviously it's a great season. It's an amazing season for us, but it's also the end of the year where we get to look back and talk about a lot of things, right? And so I'm really excited about that. But and by the way, folks, I mentioned he's the senior pastor of Crosswalk Church. Congrats on did you get a new job?
A new job. That is one way of looking at it. Like a new season. You talk about we could talk about the things that happened this year. It's like, man, I don't even know where to begin. As we were doing this episode last year, I don't think I could have possibly predicted what the next year was going to bring in regard to leading a church. And so it's been massive changes. And so I'm sure we'll get into it here in just a little bit. But yeah, man, it's Christmas. And how cool is it? Every year you start to see everybody's Christmas lights going up and all this.
Sooner and sooner
that it happens. We're recording this episode before Thanksgiving, and we're seeing the lights go up. But even in meetings and stuff that we have in the church, we start talking about Christmas plans months in advance. And you have to really get yourself in that mind frame. But then once the lights and stuff start going up, you start going, Christmas time is here, the whole thing. So yeah, it's exciting, man. What do you think when you see all that stuff going up, the lights, the decorations, all that, what hits you first? Is there an emotion that hits you or what goes on in your head? Yeah.
Obviously as Christmas time as a kid was a wonderful time with family and friends growing up. So the nostalgia part of it, I feel to me, maybe I'm just in a better mood, but I feel like everybody's in a little bit of a better mood. I feel like there's a lot more goodwill giving, things happening. Just it's kind of like a contagious thing. Everybody's kind of seems to be talking about the same thing. I used to hate on people that put up their Christmas decorations before Thanksgiving, and then 3 years ago, I think we did it, and I was wrong.
You're like, this is wonderful.
It really was, and it didn't take away anything from Thanksgiving, as a matter of fact. And when at least here in the South, the world, the landscape changes around Christmas time. I mean, even like restaurants and everything looks different, and it just seems a shame to do it. It's a lot of trouble that you go to for
just 4 weeks.
Yeah, or less even.
Yeah, why not have it up longer? I think our age is starting to show in this, Nick, because it's like when we were younger and we were full of more. Whatever. Like, there's a time and a place for that kind of thing. But now we're like, you know what, dude? The more happiness we can spread for a longer period of time, the world's miserable enough. So why not bring some light into it, right?
That's it. And like, I get to understand the reason for the season, which, literally all the stuff on my desk is not that. However,
right.
However, it is a significant part of it. And the way I feel about it is kind of what we were talking about before. It's now that I have your attention, let me tell you something. So I feel like it's a great open door to introduce people to Christ.
Yeah. And in the church world, or even it happens a lot in social media now, where it's one of the main problems with social media. Everybody has an opinion, and you're gonna hear a whole lot of, we shouldn't celebrate Christmas because that's not even when Jesus' birthday was, and what. But the fact of the matter is, it's what you just said. Anything that draws attention to put the focus on Christ, and that's what Christmas should be all about. It gives us an opportunity to say, yeah, it might not be his actual birthday, but it brings to attention who the most important person was who ever existed, and we need to be talking about him. Even believing in Santa Claus. It was a great faith exercise for a kid. Well, giving, right? Yep. And I was just reading in scripture the other day where Jesus says, give and it will be given back to you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. And that idea, give and it will be given to you. Well, you don't give to other people with the idea that, I'm going to get something back. But I mean, it just feels like the right thing to do, to be a giver, right? And at Christmas time, I'm always more excited about giving. Yes. Like the gifts that you are giving to someone and what they're opening that up, and that's even the idea of what Santa Claus is all about, is a giving mindset. Yeah. And it's such a fun time it's a great reason and excuse to tell people that you love how much you love them, whether that be through a gift or a hug or a cup of eggnog together or whatever it may be. I just again, there's just so many fun things with family, whether it be, my daughter, just making Christmas cookies with her, decorating the house for the season with the family. It's a family activity. Yeah. It's awesome. Thinking of gift giving, how special it would have been, Nick, if you would have had that fifth robe for me. I mean, I would have probably had tears in my eyes. And you missed that opportunity to do something special. Well, I didn't want to rip off SNL. We'll have a Six-Timers Club here, so screw five. Okay, Five's not enough. That's weak. Five's weak. That's for losers. Five is just right weak. Now I'm a loser, and I'm going for the winning role next year. Oh, man. Well, it's again, like the Christmas season is everywhere. I love on November 1st. Actually, I found some Christmas stations on Sirius XM in October. I did not know that was a thing. I already made my Christmas playlist, man. Every year I got my Christmas playlist that I put on. I use Apple Music. Are you a Spotify guy or Apple Music? Apple Music. Okay, so I put my Apple Music playlist together, and I've already been hammering out some different stuff. I like to write. I write Christmas messages, obviously, and I got to get in that headspace. Yep. So that's one thing I do. Hey, you mentioned about when you were growing up at Christmas. So did you ever get the Radio Shack catalog when you were a kid? Oh, heck yeah. Okay, I used to go and open that thing up, and that was my Red Ryder BB gun. I would open the Radio Shack catalog and circle like what stereo I wanted, or the Sony Walkman, and all that fun stuff, and leave that for my parents to hook me up and buy something like that. So my famous story is one year I wanted a Knight Rider remote control car, and they had it in the Radio Shack catalog. and I found that thing. I circled that, and I was so looking forward to like getting that at Christmas. And Christmas time came, and I got it. Like my parents, they bought the hint.
They came through.
They came through, and they got it. And I opened that thing up, and on the bottom of it, it only had an on and off switch. You couldn't turn the wheels or do anything. So I went outside and put it on, and the wheels started spinning, and I put it down, and it just cruised down the road. I had no way of stopping it.
Oh, no.
It disappeared off into the distance.
No.
Still driving somewhere, the Knight Rider remote control Radio Shack car.
It's chasing a sunset, isn't it?
It is chasing the sun. If you see it, anybody, and it's driving past your window, the ghost of Radio Shack Past is going down the street.
Man, one of my favorite Christmas movies is Ernest Saves Christmas. But in Ernest Goes to Camp, there's that golf cart in the beginning that's just all, you see it all throughout the movie where he gets off the cart and it drives off and then it just keeps making appearances. I feel like that's your car.
Maybe that's what they were trying to get. What was Ernest's thing? You know what I mean? Know what I mean, Vern?
Know what I mean,
Vern? Yeah, there you go. I love it.
Well, what is so all right, let me come back here.
We can talk Christmas presents all day. Failed Christmas presents.
Absolutely. So I always like, every year there's new Christmas albums. There's the same Christmas albums. There's again, going back to the spirit of the season, even Christmas movies have a wholesome, good feeling to them. You know what I mean? The way that like old TV used to, and before it got what it is today, when it was like all sitcoms were wholesome and family based and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
miss it.
I do too, and then every year you'll catch that Christmas tune that's been done for the 1 billionth time, and you're like, man, that's my favorite new version. What are do you guys have at your house? Do you guys have any go-to Christmas movies? Like, what do y'all got?
Dude, 100%. We actually have a checklist that we have to go off the list. So here's the movies every single year that we have to watch. Okay. So obviously the big ones are Christmas Vacation, which that's on TV all the time. Home Alone. That's on TV all the time. But we also do Home Alone 1 and 2, which actually I refer to as Home Alone because it's just one movie. It's basically the same thing that repeats itself. Okay. So those are like big ones that you have in there. Okay. But here's then where our family, so classics, It's a Wonderful Life. White Christmas with Bing Crosby. You ever watch that?
Oh, that's so good.
So where they go off to the resort where their old army captain, the general, has a resort that's failing and they help him out. Okay. I never watched that when I was a kid, but like my wife got me into it, and then my kids all watch it. And my kids love watching the classics just as much as anything else, right? So A Christmas Story. So I grew up, that movie, A Christmas Story with Ralphie, is based in Hammond, Indiana. And I actually grew up about 10, 15 minutes from where that's supposed to be set. They actually filmed that in Ohio, but the way that they do a good job of that so reminds me of my childhood, because that whole look. In fact, the school where Ralphie goes to looks very similar to a school that was where near I grew up, where I always think, man, this is like talking about my childhood here.
Really?
So A Christmas Story is like hits home in a different way. My parents didn't make me put on the bunny costume.
That's good.
But I kind of wish they had.
You think so?
That would have been a good thing to talk to my therapist about.
Over and over.
And over and over again. But what are some that you guys watch?
So this is my wife and I always started off the season, just her and I, before we do anything with the kids. And I don't know how we ended up doing it, but we watch Office Christmas Party, the two of us, which
oh, nice.
That one's wild and crazy.
Okay.
And that kind of kicks it off for the two of us. And then from then on out, it's obviously Christmas Vacation, Home Alone. We kind of changed a little bit when Ansley came along. We went back to some of the Peanuts Christmas, the Charlie Brown, some of those things, because that's kind of like her speed.
Okay.
But then and all the ones that you named prior, and then there's the cookies, and we love to go look at the lights, drive around, and we usually rent a ride and get driven around so we can see everything. And
nice.
Yeah, man, it's like honestly since 2014 though, when we were knee deep in health insurance, like December 15th was always a big deadline for health plans. So like, we couldn't even look up or even think Christmas until December 16th. So it's always been kind of like a really sandwiched, like it was like hurry up and wait type thing. It was hurry, 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 hurry. And then we'd get to enjoy it for a little bit. But since we don't do that as much anymore, we've been able to kind of stretch the season a little bit. But it's, you're looking back, we're always doing something big and whatever else, in business or whatnot. And then you got to close out the year. So I won't say it's a stressful time, but it is. And I think that like all the lights and the goodwill and just better moods, even when it's cold, I think it kind of like, I don't know, I think it makes, I don't know. For me, it just gives me hope, man. I look around, just see hope everywhere.
Well, one of my favorite parts of the year, and probably my favorite time in worship services, we do the Christmas Eve candlelight service.
It's so good, yeah.
And at the end, we end that basically. So I give a message, and then end the message where we light the candles. It's the Christ candle, because we do Christmas Advent at the church. And light that candle, and then we pass that light around to everybody in the sanctuary, representing the light of Jesus coming into the world, and it's our job to pass on that light. And then at the end, I have everyone hold up the candle in the air. We turn off all the lights in the sanctuary, and then you see what happens when we all do the job of passing the light, and you hold it up. It lights up the whole room, just like we have all the lights on. It's my favorite part of the year. And come and see us. If you don't have a church, come on Christmas Eve to Crosswalk Church in Brentwood. And
that's all right.
I love it. And it does just that. It just fills you with this hope and this optimism.
Yeah.
It's going to be okay.
Hi, folks. I'm your man, Nick Hyder, and I just want to say a quick thank you for all of you, the millions of you tuning into the Hitstreak. We're literally getting the information from the people that have it to the people that need it by bringing on guests that everybody knows and some that not everybody knows yet. Keep listening, keep sharing, and keep leveling up with the Hitstreak. Josh, every year I was always amazed with pastors, because they get to tell the same story every year. But the cool part about it is like hearing how you take that story and apply it to the year that we're in to this year, not the years prior or 40 years ago or 80 years ago, or even just last year, but like this year. And like, because of social media, I before 2016 or 2015, you hardly ever saw politicians. Like, it was a press conference or something special when you were exposed to them. And now we get too much of them all the time.
Right.
They're more celebrities than celebrities are, unfortunately. I think so. Like, everything's changed. The landscape of the world has changed more in the last 20 years than probably dang close to the previous 100 or something. They're going to roast me on that because that's not at all true, but you get the message.
Yeah.
But how do as you're preparing, you guys have already been preparing things, and you're preparing your messages and like everything that you're leading into. How has what's important about the Christmas message this year in 2025?
Well, I know for me, how I approach every single message is in my prayer time, just ask the Lord to give me fresh eyes and a fresh heart to see in the scriptures of what I'm reading and in the stories, even if they're stories that I'm very familiar with. Especially at Christmas time, when more people are open to hearing a message and showing up to church, and maybe even asking God to give me fresh eyes to see this may be the one time that they're willing to listen and hear. So how can I share this message of Christ, of hope and light in a dark world that speaks to them and what's going on now? So I can't go into last year's Christmas message or the one the year before that and pull out what my mentor Charles McGowan would call warmed over biscuits.
Yeah.
Okay. You can't go back and pull old biscuits out of the fridge and heat them up.
It's got to be tempting to do so, though.
You got to go fresh and whatever. So you still are taking those same scriptures in the Christmas message and then saying, okay, but Lord, what are you doing in our lives now? Like, what's going on here? And you speak to that. And so, yeah, but it's one of those things. It's a step of faith for me because as we sit here right now, and as I'm beginning that process of writing out those messages, I'm in that phase of, okay, like what is that freshness that you're going to give me? But it's stepping out of the boat. Not too much different than what we're doing in this podcast here. Is what we're going to talk about. We have an idea, but once we actually sit in the chair and we're across from each other, that's when you go, okay, what new fresh angle is going to be taken? And you have to trust that God's going to do something with what comes out of your mouth, right?
Man, it's so cool when you get a chance to be constantly amazed by God. Like, you know what I mean? Like the lessons that you learn, and like, Rhiannon and I have really had to really focus on, like, I'll put it to you this way. My whole life, I always, like, literally, like where we live right now, it wasn't that house, that neighborhood, but it was like, I always looked where I grew up, and I always, like, you know, my dad would always say, you know, each generation gets better, you know? So I looked where we were at, and I would look at a neighborhood like where I'm at now and say, that's where I'm going. And then, you know, and then you outgrow those things. So you get to that destination, and then it's the next place. And the move from where we've been for a minute into where we're going has been one of the hardest gaps or leaps to get to, or hills to climb. And the reason that, like, you know, just through so much prayer, frustrated prayer, right? Literally, like, it took me just basically letting everything go before any real movement happened. And that was what was fed to me is like, dude, when you're ready, when you're truly ready, that's when those things will kind of start to happen and unfold. So, like, you know, God has to remove certain things from your life sometimes to make room for new things. And, like, again, if you ain't ready for it.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things, you know, and the new show that I'm going to be doing starting in 2026 is called Chase the Sunset, which is based on a song that I wrote years ago, but I released 3 years ago. And it's just kind of taken a life of its own on social media and on Instagram. And I'm continuing to be amazed that, you know, I haven't really done much promotion. I don't play out musically or do anything to promote music anymore because I primarily engage in pastoring.
Yeah.
And yet this song has just gone out there and is heard all over the world and used on reels and
Isn't it crazy?
All this stuff. I just can't even, I did the math on it the other day because I was just looking, I know the royalties that I receive from it. And I was just trying to figure out, okay, so I know what these royalties pay out. So I just tried to do some quick math just to see. And I know that it's been used on over 60,000 reels on Instagram.
It's incredible.
TikTok is like over 40 to 50,000 reels it's been used on. But then that doesn't include the amount of views per reel. So then I started kind of figuring out, I was like, this is like reaching millions of people.
Yep.
And one of the things I've learned in scripture is you don't try to come up with your own thing and tell God, here's what I'm going to do. You need to join me. You need to join God where he's already working.
Man, yeah.
And so think about all the things you try to promote, right? And you want to come up with a great tagline, or you want to come up with something that's going to hit. And so here I was thinking, I want to do a podcast, and I want to really help people connect to God, but connect to their calling, connect to who they're supposed to be, to make up the distance from where they are to where they want to be. You kind of talk about this gap that's in there, you know? And what's a cool name I could come up with? I'm trying to figure out all this stuff. And I was like, well, I could come up with a clever name, or I could just join God in the one that's already taken on its own life, which is this Chase the Sunset thing. And one of those lessons that I've learned in my own personal journey is any decision that I make requires I have to cut something else away. And you have to, I call it an incision. You have to make an incision to say, that has to go away for me to be able to accomplish what this next thing is. Yeah. And it's hard to cut something away. And I've heard you talk about this many times, you know, the choose your hard type thing. It's hard to make a decision that I'm not going to do that anymore, to pursue that. But it's equally as hard to continue to hold on to something and not be who you're going to be. Like, I don't know. We could talk about that for a while too, but.
Well, it's, you know, so many people, it's, how many times, literally as we sit here today, we found out yesterday that one of our previous sisters from a previous church body had passed away. And, you know, she was younger than us and had 5 kids. And, you know, it just kind of like it just kind of knocks you down for a second. And I don't even, I got hung up for a second and just, anytime you lose somebody like that, it's hard. We hadn't even spoken to them in years, but it's still, we kept up. That's one good thing about socials. You can keep up with everybody and cheer people on and such. But
I was talking to our worship pastor about something like this a couple days ago, where he's recording some music that he's been writing. I've written and recorded some music stuff that I've been writing. You mentioned when life moments like that happen and you lose someone who either you were close to or someone who you are very familiar with, they're younger than you, and your mortality kind of hits you. You're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Like, what am I going to do with this life, this one life here that I've been given? You have a podcast here. You meet with people every day, and I know you have goals with it and all that, but seldom do we think about the things that we're going to pass on to our children.
Yeah.
And think about it this way. One of the things I was saying to Harry, our worship pastor, as he's writing these songs, I was like, I want to encourage you to continue to do it, to continue to write, to record, to get your voice out there. Do your podcast, Nick. Get your voice out there. When my wife lost her father 5 years ago, in fact, we were just talking about it this morning, I watched her and her sister scramble to find anything possible just to hear his voice.
Yeah.
Listening to old voicemails, finding a song that he did, and going back to that Chase the Sunset. The reason why I recorded that song, I had written that song 4 years before and was just going to leave it in a dust drawer and never is going to see the light of day other than for me. And then I watched when my wife lost her father, they scrambled just to be able to hear him. And it hit me. I am doing my kids a disservice by not putting this out there for them to have. That even if no one else ever listens to this song or these songs, or even if no one ever listens to me do a message at church as a pastor and people aren't showing up and nobody cares. Well, one thing I know is my kids will always have the lessons from me. They'll hear my voice, whatever, and they can hold on to that, you know? I don't know if that's what we didn't plan on talking about any of this, but I just think it's so important in a world, especially where people will be really quick to tell you, you make this all about you. You're selfish. You're whatever. It's like, listen, I have one primary ministry, which is to my wife and kids.
Yeah.
And I want them to have my voice at all times,
Absolutely.
to guide them in the way that the Lord leads me and guides me in Scripture. There was I'm going to go there in a minute. I'm going to say something that really uncomfortable that I've never said before. And it's a sensitive subject. I'm going to go there, but I want to stay here first because you mentioned your kids. All right. And this kind of leads into the really uncomfortable thing I'm going to say in a minute. So everybody's going to hang out for at least a minute to see what Nick's going to say. I talk a lot about the greatest gift besides Jesus that God gave me was my kids, and the fact, well, first my wife, then my kids, but my kids have been my greatest teacher, especially my son. And so I talk about a lot. I talk about the lessons that I've learned being his dad, and I talk about the lessons that, as I'm raising him, the things that I'm starting to realize are really important that you put in a child's life. Specifically, making choices that are in the interest of what you feel like God put you here to do, right? So it's really easy to make the wrong choices and go down the wrong path. Making the right choices is a skill set. It's 100% intentional. And people roast me on that. Man, you controlling dad, let the kid be a kid, blah, blah, blah. And I'm always like, well, what does that even mean? Let the kid be a kid. I'm like, I feel like it's better to raise tough boys than it is to repair broken men. And life's coming, dude. You got to learn this one time or another. It's a lot easier when you are younger, when you have guidance. But at the end of the day, my dad always told me, because I get frustrated. He's 16, so he does some stuff. You're like, bro, how stupid are you? But my dad says, Nick, he's got to learn those things. It's your job to just keep reminding him. If he don't do it after you remind him, then you can kill him. Okay.
But before that, you just got to remind him. And it's so a lot of times when Ethan's like, hey, Dad, I'm going to go, he's got wheels now, so I'm going here. Great. Did you do all the things that were on your power list? Did you do all the things that you know are important to get you where you want to go?
Mm-hmm.
Well, so sometimes there's just not enough time in the day and he has to choose. And I'm like, that's where the choice comes in. It's like, hey, man, I know you might want to go to that football game.
Mm-hmm.
There's not one football game I regret not going to. But there was some things that I wanted to do in life that I didn't get to that I regret going to the football game because I didn't get that.
Mm-hmm.
As a dad, that's just something that, like, right or wrong, I feel like if he can control his mind and be the best at making decisions real time,
mm-hmm.
and knowing the intention and how each decision affects the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, I feel like that's really powerful and really important.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And
why are parents so weak these days, Josh?
Well, I don't know that
they all want to be friends.
I know they do want to be friends. Now, it does say, I believe it's in Ephesians 5. I'm drawing a blank, but fathers, don't exasperate your children. But with that being said, we are instructed to give them guidelines and guardrails. Like, if there's things that you have learned along the way that you feel like you need to pass on to your son, that's such an important. If you don't pass it on and you're just kind of keeping it close to the vest, I don't know that you're really being the best dad that you can be. That being said, I think the most important thing, I have two college boys. One's about to graduate college, which is crazy.
And your kids are all phenomenal, by the way. No BS, like, for real. These are legit amazing people.
Well, thank you. We're blessed, right?
Yeah. How did you do it? Like, was it luck? Like, did you have anything to do with it?
So I will say there was a whole lot of intentional stuff that Sarah and I did. In fact, we even went to, in fact, raising our kids in church, because there's a whole stereotype about pastors' kids, and we were very intentional about learning things that we could do to make sure that wouldn't happen, that our kids wouldn't be rebellious or lash out or make decisions that would harm themselves simply because their dad is a pastor of a church and they felt like they were put in this box, you know. Going back to what I was saying about don't exasperate your kids, I think it is very important, and where I would commend you is you are giving these guidelines to Ethan and saying, hey, did you do this? Did you do this? And in that same breath, I would also hope that Ethan knows 100%, hey, if you're ever in a situation where you need me, something bad's going on, you can come to me at any time. Yeah. And talk with me.
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna have your back. I'm gonna support you. As long as your kid knows that.
Yeah, I mean, like, how do you really support them if you don't know what's important to them and you don't know what they want or what they dream of and stuff like that, you know? So, like, I'm just like, hey, man, like, it's okay if you don't want to play center field at Yankee Stadium anymore. That's cool, man. What do you want to do so I can support it? Are you ready to take your brand digital? At HitLab Creative, we don't just make content. We build your digital foundation from the ground up. So whether you're launching a podcast, creating scroll-stopping social media content, or building a website that actually converts, we connect all the dots. Visit hitlabstudio.com/studio-time and let's build something that lasts. Because the HitLab is where digital strategy meets data-driven content creation.
So a couple things that we did, going back to what you said about raising kids in the church for Sarah and I. So there's a pastor who I followed years ago. His name was Willie George, and I went to a conference of his, and one thing that he said, and Sarah and I were there, is he said, don't ever set up the church as the villain in your family's story. So in other words, if I can't be at one of my kids' events, or if I can't, or something's going on where the church, we're going through a hard season, I don't blame the church and say, oh, the church is making our family life difficult, or like, Dad can't be at your thing because here's another meeting, or so and so is doing, like, that's setting up the church as a villain. Another way of setting up the church as a villain for a pastor's kid is to say, you have to do this. You have to be at that event because you're the pastor's kid. You have to do this and you have to do that. So we have never done that.
Wow.
Our kids still feel that because that's just life.
Yeah.
Others might project that on them and say, well, you probably think you're goody two shoes because you're a pastor's kid. And we walk through that and help them see it. But anything that my kids do in the church or attending church, we never said, you have to do this because you're our kid. But here's where the intentionality came in for both Sarah and I. We love Jesus. And people get weirded out when I say this, Nick, if I never preach a message again, I'm in a church, I'm okay. Okay. That's not my identity. And my identity is I love Jesus. I love waking up in the morning, opening my Bible and reading it and learning. I love writing down my thoughts and journaling. I love writing out my prayers. Sarah does the same thing. And the longer we've been married, now we've been married 25 years, we're very similar in how we live this out. Our kids see this. So my kids know 100% that the guy they see up on the stage, like, that's not fake. Like, he's not just putting on a show for everybody here and being an entertainer. Yeah. They're like, kind of like, oh, that's my dad, So the PK thing can happen when that person who's up on a stage comes off and is not the same guy. Yeah, and then that's when the kid goes, I don't want this hypocritical garbage. Yeah. Now, that's not every case, but you know what I mean? But that's where the intentional thing of going, we're not going to be that. Go to your story, what you're saying with Nick. I think that's the role of every father and every mother. Don't be asking your kids to be doing something that you aren't doing yourself. That's right. Like, you're living it out. You're saying you're the product of your choices and all that. So anyway. Yeah. Well, it's... You're exactly right. And I just, I always thank everybody for their feedback when they give it to me, but I mean, it's crazy to me how many, it's a straight divide. People are like, yes, dude, you nailed it. And then somebody else be like, man, your kid must hate you, dude. I'd hate to grow up in your house. He's going to slit your throat, but you better not sleep with the door unlocked. I mean, you wouldn't believe some of the stuff that comes at me over, like, me just saying, hey man, like, Ethan, I think the big thing that makes people mad is I'm like, hey man, when it comes time to have, I was just using an example. It's like when it comes time to have that Dr. Pepper, just ask yourself, is that taking you closer or further away from what you want? Is everybody's like, just give him a Dr. Pepper. I'm like, he can earn the Dr. Pepper, but did he get everything else that he needed? And, I love Krispy Kreme donuts, Josh, so it's, when like I've figured out how to have them and still grow and still there's fitness goals and things that we want to have in a certain way I want to feel. And I've learned how to make that a part of that journey. Right. Yeah. So I just don't eat them every day. And when I do, it's on purpose. You know what I mean? It serves me. Yeah. Well, it's funny. I've been reading a book recently called When to Walk Away by Gary Chapman. I think that's who wrote it. Yeah. I love old Gary Chapman. He talks about basically that people in this world get their energy from different things. So some people might say, I get energy from just being an encourager to people or whatever. Well, there's other people in this world who get their energy from just being a naysayer and telling you what you're doing wrong. And what's crazy about social media is everybody is given a platform to get their energy. Yeah. And there are people who exist like without even knowing. So you're going on social media and you're just sharing something about, here's how I raised my son. And here's, okay. For every one person who goes, great job, Nick, you can guarantee there's one person who goes, you are a terrible father. Fact. Okay. And you're putting it out there. So it's like, that's what you're going to get. And you can, what's the word? Feed the trolls. The term feed the troll. Yeah. You can feed them. And like, that just gives them even more energy to say, oh, now I can comment more because I know I'm going to get a response. Yeah. But yeah, there's just not a scenario anymore where you're not going to get hit with negativity on how you're doing something. No, and again, I love to hear from everybody because I always like to question like, well, how did they get there from what I said? Like, all right, let me unpack that a minute. Maybe I can grow from this. Maybe I can learn. There's always an opportunity for everything. And again, somebody took the time to say something to me for a second. So I'm very grateful for that. Right. So, if I forgot to thank you for your feedback before I gave you my next statement or whatever it was on whoever it is, thanks for taking the time to be involved and I think that's great. And you reached me and you touched me, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's kind of like, going back to the spirit of Christmas. Now that I have your attention, let's talk about it. There's a bigger thing here. So I'm grateful for all of it. But it does like
the reason I brought it up is because I want to get it right. I want to get it right, and somebody that I highly respect and think a lot of and truly value your perspective. That was a great excuse for me to bring it up today, right? That's how we got here. That's how we got here on this episode. So again, because at the end of the day, when I'm torn on which direction to go, I'm going to lean on God's word on how to that. So but there's translations, and maybe I'm using the wrong context, of something right there. But it's always good to get feedback from somebody that you look up to or you consider a mentor or something like that.
Yeah. Well, especially we're trying to figure it out as we go along, right? And I think the thing that most people don't see, since you're a public figure and you have a following on social media, and they see the snippets of whether it's a story or whatever it may be, you might even be sharing some insight on like what you're talking about with what you share with your son, and that's just a little soundbite.
Yeah, from a long conversation.
What most of those people don't see is you do have a son who loves you, who walks around, and he basically, sorry, Ethan, you try to be a little mini me of your dad, where you're kind of dressing the same, acting the same, and he's following your guidance and your wisdom, and he wants to be around you, right? So it's not a toxic father-son relationship. Yeah. So most people don't see that. So where you're just trying to impart good values and discipline and good things in the life of your child that are not toxic. Yeah. Right? But a lot of people grew up in atmospheres where there was toxic.
Facts.
So they project that toxic that they know onto something you're saying.
Yeah, that's right.
As someone who preaches, this happens all the time. I will give messages and people will come and say, I don't like that you're talking about me on the stage. And I'll go, and they're dead serious.
Yeah.
They think I was talking about them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa. Like, hold on. I was just preaching what these scriptures, this is the message that Jesus was putting. You're projecting something onto this, and in that moment, like you can either get mad at someone or you can just in your heart, just pray and be like, hey Lord, I don't know what's going on in the life of that person, but you love them. And I don't want them to hurt. I don't want them to think that I'm coming at them with so where can I get this better? Like you always want to learn something, right? Out of every encounter. Yeah. So, anyway, I don't know how I got off on that, but,
that real time happened to me one time. I felt like somebody was speaking directly to me, and you know what that person said when I asked them about it? They were like, hey man, like no offense, but like, you're not that special.
Yeah.
You don't hold that much. Like, let's take it back a notch, Nick. And I was like, wow, I've used that a million times when we were having all the insurance agents. They was like, man, those underwriters have it out for me. I'm like, bro, like, seriously, you think that they know who you are?
Yeah.
That
was, I don't know if this is along the same lines, but I remember when, whenever something rough is going on in someone's life and they go, well, Satan made me do it. And I had a friend who goes, Satan don't care about you. Like he goes, the little underling demons handle your cases. He's like, Satan has bigger fish to fry.
That's right. Dude, it's again, so much, it's all about perspective, right? It's all about perspective. So your pod in 2026, chasing the sunset. So first of all, the last time I introduced you, you were the senior pastor of a church of a different name, and you were the host of a podcast of a different name, right? So I want to talk to you about a little bit what the reason for the branding change, and then also at the same time, I'm so excited that up until like the last couple of years, I just couldn't listen to a lot of faith-based music because the quality was so bad. And dude, it's gotten good. What's the Forrest? Is it Forrest Frank?
Forrest Frank out there, yeah.
Man, like
good stuff.
Rhiannon wakes us up every morning. The alarm is one of his songs about today being a good day. Dude, it's awesome. Like I love that.
Forrest Frank, Josiah Queen is another one who my kids listen to a lot of. And yeah, it's a lot of good stuff out there right now.
It's gotten good, and I know that you have a really great song that this podcast is based around. So talk to me about the rebrand change. Like, what's the difference in the direction and what you're excited about for it?
Yeah. So if we're talking about rebrand, it's kind of like You could talk church rebrand. You could talk like my own personal story rebrand.
Yeah,
I mean, there's just so many.
Well, let's start with the church first. That was a big deal.
A huge deal. New Hope Community Church in Brentwood has been around since 1977 and has a wonderful story. There have been 3 pastors, including me, over the course of 48 years.
That's a long time.
And so, the first pastor, David Erickson, who planted the church with some families where the church currently sits at 605 Wilson Pike in Brentwood. 6 families mortgaged their homes and bought that land.
That's great.
Of 20 acres that's on that property. David Erickson was the pastor of it for 10 years. Paul Bain came, and then he was the pastor for the next 26 years, I believe, from 1987 to 2014. And, the church has a rich legacy in that area and being there. And so New Hope, I came to the church in 2006. And so it's been almost 20 years that I've been a part of the church. And so over the last couple years in just the life of the church, we had just noticed a stagnation that had taken place. Just behind the scenes and just across the board.
Can I and it was crazy too, because that was when everything was functioning at what seemed like its highest.
Right. But that you can't look at it that way.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you're right. There were so many good things taking place, but when you're constantly in the moment, just like here we are recording the Hitstreak, right? And it's wonderful and the studio is great. And I came in from the outside and I was like, hey man, everything looks awesome. You're like, we're changing everything.
Yeah.
And we could sit down and unpack, why are you really changing everything, Nick? And the answer is, you don't have to explain it to me. You know why you are. Mm-hmm. You know what's going on behind the scenes of something internally that even in your heart, you go, there's a need for this. We've reached a place of, and there's a change that is needed. So we have a church of elders who meet it's the first and third Wednesday of the month. We spend time in prayer. We talk. We're going through things. And we had been talking and just praying and going and really strategizing. Where's God leading us? And everyone had noticed in me a change in who I was over the last couple of years. And which began, we talked about it on last year's podcast, but really I'm not the same person that I was just a few years ago, spiritually, mentally, or physically. I mean, across the board, I'm just a different person.
Yeah, man.
And what's God been doing in my life? And so we just began to unpack that and talk about that. Then what's God doing in the lives of our people? As a pastor of a church, I can't take people to places that I haven't been myself. But if I am going somewhere and God's taking me on a journey, then shouldn't I take the people with me? So we talk about that. And so we were going through it in the elder process. This is one interesting thing that was thrown out there, because someone said, Josh, you changed the name of the church. Well, it actually wasn't even my idea. So we were sharing, here's some things we can go here. And it came up in the course of that meeting. Then we started talking about it in staff meetings. What if we looked at renaming the church? Well, what should it be? And we threw out some of the worst names. I mean, it was brutal names that had nothing to do with anything. And through prayer, we realized, okay, you can't just change the name of something just for no reason. What is the church known for? Okay. And so the scripture, Matthew 16:24, Jesus says, whoever would come after me must take up his cross, deny himself, and follow me. That was really in my own life, when I talk about spiritually, mentally, physically, that's where I was. The daily discipline of following Christ in everything that I do, reading scripture, spending time with him, and then transferring that same principle to my mental health, which was like, I'm not going to let emotions control me anymore. Up and down days, whatever it may be, like I'm going to make a decision to tap into good. Yeah. And then transferring that to physical, like I'm done with being out of shape. I'm done. I'm going to get to the place where as I get older, I will be each year I will be in better shape than I was the year before. And I'm going to turn that around and go that way. So I'm going to deny myself. take up my cross. So whatever that cross looks like, and
Yep.
follow Christ.
You ready to transform your business and unlock new revenue streams? At Processing First, we empower our partners with cutting-edge payment solutions and unparalleled support. By leveraging our extensive network of banking partners, we match you with the ideal bank to ensure that you receive the most competitive rates and deliver an exceptional experience for both you and your customers. Visit processingfirst.com to learn more and join our growing community of successful partners.
In scripture, Jesus says, I came that you would have life and have it to the full. Okay. So what does that mean? It means that some of y'all have been sold a bill of goods that you think following Christ means you have to miss out on the great things of life. When Jesus says, if I came that you would have life and have it to the full, it means he's saving you from the things that are going to hold you down from having the best life. Okay. So the closer you get to Christ and the more you follow after him, even in the face of trouble and trials and persecution, you're having life to the full. And so let me throw out some names. We were like, we should call her. First I was like, well, if we're going to change it, because the church has a rich legacy and I love the people. It's such a great church with great people.
Yeah, I agree.
We need to have the word hope in there because I'm all about hope. So we were like, it has to have hope. So we came up with these, like Hope Springs, Hope Anchor Church, Hope. I mean, it was all the stuff with the word hope in there. And we were like, well, we don't even have springs. So why would we call it Hope Springs?
Yeah.
So then I was like, well, then maybe we shouldn't do it. It shouldn't change it at all. And then I was in the back and behind our church, we have a cross that overlooks this field. Whenever there's a beautiful sunset and there's 20 acres, there's 15 acres of land behind it. And people go back there and they take pictures of the cross. And I was like, wait a minute. The word cross has to be in here. I mean, that's what we're all about. What Christ did for us on the cross is what we're all about. Whoever would come after me, deny himself, take up his cross and follow me. Take up his cross and follow me. So I was like, is it crossway? Is it cross land? Because we have land. Is it what? And it's like, no, follow, like walk.
That's right.
In the Old Testament, repeatedly, the main commandment that comes out that's taught in Deuteronomy, whatever, is to love the Lord your God and walk in his ways. Those two things. Crosswalk. Okay. So then, other things that came about from it where we have these plans that on these acres of land of building walkways and pathways that tell the gospel story.
I'm so excited for this.
Well, here's what's so funny, Nick. In the whole rebranding process, here's what I've learned is you make a lot of mistakes along the way. Like I've made so many mistakes.
Okay. Let's list them all.
Well, like even one of the big mistakes that I made was I linked me as the pastor. I think that I thought that everybody would be excited about the things that I was excited about. And that's just not going to happen. And it's not fair. It's not fair for people who already have a tough time with change to think that they're actually going to be excited about something.
Yeah.
So like I linked, we're going to be Crosswalk Church and then we're going to do this Crosswalk project and we're going to do, and it's going to be great, everybody. And it's going to have this out here and it's going to have this out here, where there were some who were like, huh?
Yeah.
And I was forgetting, like I was already a couple years down the road in this heart process change for me.
Yeah.
And like, you can't expect others to get there that fast either. And the other thing was like, I don't even know what stuff's going to look like. All I just knew is that God was leading us to do something.
Yeah.
Right. And, so yeah, missteps along the way on that. And then, I don't know, hard stuff. I remember when we went to the congregation and we had the vote to change the name, which in a church, I mean, churches end on this kind of stuff.
Facts.
Okay. And I was like, I knew that wasn't going to happen. I felt like God had put on my heart, that's not going to happen. I know we're going to be okay. But I did say to our elders, when Moses, and I'm not Moses, so don't, when Moses led the people out of Egypt, where they went? Wilderness. I said, where we're going as a church? Where Crosswalk's going to start?
Yeah.
The wilderness.
Yeah.
And we're feeling that. I'll be honest with you and tell you that. Like right now in this season, like we're feeling the wilderness. Like there's new people who are coming and being a part of the church, but we're still walking through a process that's going to take years. But at the same time, what is awesome is I love being the pastor of Crosswalk Church.
Yep.
Okay. And I'm excited to see how God is leading people. I'll just be so bold. I'll say this. I don't really have interest in just babysitting a church.
Mm-hmm.
And what I love though is to see people who show up to church and are passionate and they want to be on fire. They want to learn and go in depth.
Yeah.
And learn from scripture and go on a different level. I don't know if you've noticed it, even in my preaching, what I've done is I've kind of gone like, if there was a shovel that goes deep, I'll like try to go one shovel deeper. Yeah. I'm not going to just tell you we're not going to just read a scripture and like, if I mention a name, I'm going to tell you the backstory, who that person is.
My wife has been so infatuated with it. She actually said it like day before yesterday, how she loves how you've just really like when you're diving into the verse. I mean, it's like, first of all, you're a great storyteller. Secondly, and that's incredibly important here. All right. But secondly, I mean, we're getting to like, we're staying on things and getting to the, like talking about the roots of them and like at a level I've never heard before, from the pulpit. That is, usually you have to go to a class or something to get that type of thing. And it's been phenomenal. And I was going to throw out there too, like, I've been a part of a lot of churches in a leadership role and everything else where, or other churches, I should say, where big decisions are, way too hard.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say that the congregation of Crosswalk, the speed in which that it happened was incredible. Mm-hmm. It was incredible. And it gave me hope because it's like, man, like it's just human nature to question a lot of the things that God puts on your heart for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. And I know there was some pushback and I have no idea behind the scenes, but from where I sat, just the speed in which it happened, that's a God thing.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that because, would that be one of my regrets? Possibly. These things happen fast, and could we have taken more time and thought about it? Now, to me, looking back on it, does not change the fact that it needed to happen. Mm-hmm. There are people out there in our community that need what Crosswalk Church is.
Yeah.
And how we're teaching scripture, what we're calling people to, and we've already seen fruit from what God's doing in that. And it doesn't change the legacy or the impact that what New Hope as a church was.
That's right.
The speed of it is what some people had an issue with, and they said, "Hey, we're out." Or sometimes when change happens, people look at it as an opportunity to have it be their exit door. I was surprised at a couple of people who still, even though I've been the pastor of the church for 12 years, I had a couple who just basically shared that they never really viewed me as their pastor. They were still viewing the previous person as the senior pastor, which is interesting. It just kind of shows that everybody has a different timeline.
Yeah.
So to go back to the speed at which it happened, it didn't matter how fast it would have happened. What if we slowed things down and did it as a year or a couple year process? There are some who just have a really hard time with change, but
it would just hurt that much longer, I guess.
I guess, and it doesn't change the fact, and I say this fully sincerely. I love the people. It's so hard. Like I don't want people to get upset or leave a church, and I don't want to be that guy. In fact, I think the prayer that I prayed the most as my time is in pastoral ministry is like, Lord, why I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
And it comes across like I'm this guy who's trying to rip somebody's heart out of their chest and with some of these leadership decisions. But really, the only thing I'd say is with our elder group, with me as a pastor, like we take it so serious that we do what God is calling us to do. And we, in our hearts, and feel that we have, and so anyway, but I do ask, pray for us as we continue to go through it.
Well, it's very exciting. It is very exciting. And, for me, it was a great example. One of the things that that's always been very powerful for me is the best leaders were first the greatest followers, and like, that's just, you guys are a great example of that, because as leaders, you're following something, and boy, you had every reason in the world not to. So you didn't, everything was just fine. You didn't have, you know what I mean? This is all like, you literally ran right into the fire with this stuff. Face first, faced it head on. It was awesome. It really was.
Yeah. Well,
as a member, I'm like, it gave me hope. There's change that needed to happen. You're seeing it. You mentioned it today. Well, how much do you think that affected my ability to do that? You know what I mean? Like, it's powerful, man.
Yeah. And God has brought about such cool things in it. Like it was really, you talk about this all the time. I listen to the show. I know some of your own personal journey and the things that you make in your decisions. I know things for myself in the last couple of years that I had to do. I had to like really look in the mirror and be honest. Like, okay, how did we get to this point? Okay, Josh, how did we get to this point? And then what do you need to do? Okay, because we can continue on this path and just kind of like play out the string and live life in this way. And then, and you're not going to feel good, and you might be depressed or whatever. Okay. But what if we decided to intentionally make good decisions, or decisions that to improve? Okay. Not just to play it out the rest of the time. And even for the church, we had just noticed, okay, listen, so we're an aging congregation. And there's wonderful people here who are very friendly. You come into this church, that's one of the main things we're known for. You're going to get greeted, you're going to get talked to, people, they're going to want to know who you are, and they're genuine and they care. Okay. So like, that's very important, and it's good stuff. Okay. But are we currently who God is calling us to be? Okay. And in my role, so as the pastor, all I know is this: God put me in that role. I'm in the chair because God placed me there.
Yep.
And when God decides to remove me from that, that is God's decision, and I'm okay with that. But so if God's been doing this work in my life, and I've had all this change taking place in who I am as the pastor of this church, and who I am, and here's one of the things I shared with the elders. So here's what it is. Either y'all got to find a new pastor who can continue to do what y'all are doing, or maybe do you want to go on this journey with me?
Yeah.
Now that to me didn't involve name change and all that stuff. I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah.
But that's what began all the discussions, right? But I said, just like you learned, right? What I learned is like, listen, but that means a wilderness is coming, because not everybody wants to go on that journey.
That's right.
That everyone's going to have to decide. And in church world, it usually is between 3 to 5 years that it takes for people to decide, am I actually willing to go on this journey? So Crosswalk now is in its infancy of who's going to be with us and who's not. And I'm going to say this again because it's so important, because I love all the people who are part of the church. I don't want anyone to do this. Okay. But when you look at Crosswalk and you say, hey, God has good things in store. Don't bail. Okay. Hang with us. And let's see what God does. Don't put faith in me as a pastor or our leader. Like, put faith in what God has for us. So
sometimes you just got to give things a little time to breathe and play out. That's I'm CC'd on most communication that I revolve around, and that revolves around me in business. And I have great people, and sometimes I'm too quick to interject or insert myself when I could have just laid back and let it play out, and it usually works out. And that's been trust is the word that kind of comes to mind with it. And that was for me. There's a small handful of folks that were called by God to be a pastor or lead a program or something like that in church, and I'm not called to do that at this time. So, so that person is, and it's my job. They're the leader and I'm the follower. So I'm gonna understanding my role in the situation is very, very big. And the pastor always comes up under a lot of fire, and that was really where I learned to let things play out. Is like, well, last time I checked, that person was the person that was called to do that, and we weren't. So like, let's just see what happens. Let's see what God's putting on that man's heart.
Yeah.
Well,
what's so interesting about a church, think about it like this. You guys are involved in events and you have different things that you plan. The easiest thing to do in life is to plan no events. That way you won't have any problems.
That's right.
So every event that you do is going to present its own problems.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, at churches, you have multiple events every single week that ends in a big event that starts the week. Sunday is actually the first day of the week, right?
Yes.
That's your big event that starts the week. And it's a worship service that is public, that involves people in a room who get together. And just like we talk about on social media, everybody has an opinion on how they think that event should go.
Oh, yeah.
And for the most part, 98% of the people, like everybody's cool. But each week, and it's not always the same person, but each week there's a 1 or 2% that something will have gone wrong.
Yeah.
And we usually find out on Monday or Tuesday what went wrong.
Yeah.
And that's okay because, we're people. And what's so funny about it for me, though, is kind of the curse of pastoral leadership is I don't usually get to walk into a worship service and not be looking for what's wrong.
Yeah.
Everything is just kind of, can be all over the place. But where I feel like God's been maturing me is maybe I used to react to something or you want to fix something right away.
Yeah.
And what Crosswalk has done, here's something you might find interesting. What Crosswalk has done when we did then make that change is that I intentionally now tell myself whenever a new idea comes along, even if we've done it before, don't shut it down. So be open to new things. Or if something is going wrong, where in the past, maybe I wanted to fix it because I'm the pastor of the church. Now my pat response is I don't speak into those operations of the church anymore. So if the music's too loud, or a light is in someone's eyes, or this announcement didn't get made, or this was said wrong, and people would come running to me to fix it, my response is now I don't operate in those areas anymore.
Congratulations.
So, but it kind of throws people for a loop.
Yeah.
Because wait, you're the pastor, you oversee all the things, and that's it. You're the leader. They work, they do this, and I'm like, we hired him to do a job.
Yep.
And that's where you need to go with it.
That's right.
So anyway, I don't know.
Hey, pardon this quick interruption, but it's a good one. You're listening to this ad right now, which means someone else could be listening to your ad in this exact spot. Go to nickhyder.com/contact-me or click the link in the show notes to get started. Let's put your brand in the spotlight right where it belongs. As a guy that has been sitting out there with his family, just observing, being a part of it, it's extremely exciting. And to see the folks that reacted a certain way, it breaks your heart a little bit. But at the same time, it's like, well, just, that's all right. We ain't going anywhere, and you can come back. Yeah, you can come back. So it's okay. We're gonna finish this out, and then when it's said and done, come check us out.
Yeah, 100%. And would love to have people come back for sure. So that's
absolutely. All right. So Chasing the Sunset, launching in 2026, the brand new podcast, right?
Yeah.
So is the Josh Huisman podcast, is that one wrapped as we sit today? Are there any more episodes left to come out?
That is, I would basically call that a rebranding.
Okay.
So like what I was doing before with Josh Huisman podcast was basically kind of what you and I are doing right here, where it was just conversations with pastors, Christian musicians and singers, people who I really wanted to have a conversation with and sit down and talk to. And I loved doing it. Over the course of time, as we did it for over a year, I just started to see that the audience that it was building was more built on the audience of whoever my guest was.
Yeah.
Okay. And whoever their following was, which was cool because that's why I had them on the show in the first place, but then going back to like the journey that I was on and like what God was doing in my life with change and transformation, I just felt like this pull to share how how can I help people? And so I stopped doing the other podcast. I dabbled my toe in the water of this other show I was doing with Judd Granzow called A Biblical View. We started talking about Bible and scripture. That was fun. We did that just for a short season. Mm-hmm. And then I just took a break from it and really was praying, okay, like what is next? Like, what should I do? Because I know I want a podcast, and where I came from is I wanted to have a show where it's me and the camera. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm talking to that person on the other side of this camera who feels stuck, who feels lost, maybe depressed, maybe in a bad season, whatever it may be. And I want to help them. I want to be hope on the other side of the camera. Mm. I don't want to be Coach Josh because I know that's such an overused term these days. Yeah. But at the same time, the more I can be there for 5 or 10 minute clips and just share a personal insight, a scripture to back it up, some teaching with it, and then also hope for that person. So I sat down and what's the mission of this? What's the mission of Chase the Sunset? Mm-hmm. Okay, first off, Chase the Sunset to me is all about I want to be in the light. Okay. So as that sun is going away from me and it's going down, I'm chasing it because I'm going to stay in the light.
I was going to ask that. What was the sunset a reference?
So I was on a flight coming back from India one time. So it was
You've been to India?
I've been to India.
I didn't know that.
Several times. And I might be going again in February. But I was coming back and we were taking off like first thing in the morning. And we were flying with the sun. Now the sun still moves faster than the plane. So you still go there. But I was in the daytime for the whole day. Mm. We were chasing the sun.
Wow.
And so I actually wrote the song Chase the Sunset years ago. And then I put into Google, like if anyone's listening, go put into Google, Chase the Sunset. Mm-hmm. And you might get a response that says chasing the sunset is like when your airplane flies and it goes across and like you're actually chasing the sun. It's like staying in the light.
Okay.
So, but think about this. What does the word chasing mean? It's movement. Mm. You can't stay stagnant. Mm-hmm. And so my head was just swirling with all this stuff of like, how do I help people and just be there for them and stay in the light? So that is where the show is basically going to be, where it'll most likely be 2 or 3 episodes a week.
Okay, let's go.
That's going to be, they'll be between 5 and 10 minutes long. Mm-hmm. I think the first couple are 11 minutes long or whatever. The plan is to drop one on a Monday to start your week, a Wednesday for your midweek, and then there'll be a Friday psalm that I'll just do because I go through the Psalms every Friday anyway.
Yep.
Like pick a new psalm each week.
This is great. Yeah.
And so throughout your week, Chase the Sunset is going to be like, I'm not going to just drop an episode on Monday and leave you for the week. We're in this together. Mm. But the idea is it's movement. Okay. So like topics will deal with making a choice and making good decisions. How do you put first things first, which is to love the Lord your God first and deal with your heart, your spiritually before you go mentally and physically.
Would it be better to listen to these before or after a sermon? Is it leading up to the sermon?
They won't
on
have
Sunday?
anything. They won't have anything to do with the sermon.
Even though, so you're preparing for all this stuff, there won't be any influence in there, you think? Wow, that's awesome.
So here's what I'll say the influence will be. Okay, and this is primarily what I would even say in the messages that I do. I am all about preparation at this point. So I literally made a decision a couple years ago. I'm going to become a person of complete expansion in my reading and knowledge and wisdom. Mm-hmm. So that when I preach and when I talk, whatever it may be, and I sit down and write things out, everything that's coming out of me is an overflow of the preparation that's been there. So, so there will be some spillover that I might talk about something that was in a message. Yeah. But it won't be something that's plain. It's just something that like kind of pours out of me. Yeah. Okay. From who I am. So like, for example, like now this will be a couple weeks back, whatever. I did a message back in November, October, whatever it may be, that was all about failure. Mm-hmm. Okay. And that basically failure is the pathway to perfection. Now you'll never be perfect this side of heaven. That's right. You won't. Okay. But that doesn't mean you give up.
That's right.
You still pursue it. Right. But why do most people who I talk to, when you ask them to do something, they're like, I probably wouldn't be good at it. And you're right. because nobody wants to fail at something.
Yeah.
Okay. But failure is the pathway to getting better.
That's right.
So why do we avoid it?
That's right.
So let's talk about it. So like that is like an overflow, like one of those Chase the Sunset episodes that'll be in there that kind of spilled into a message. But
yeah, when you're actually secure in whatever it is that you're doing, you're fine with failing. Mm-hmm. It's that insecurity of it, man, that just beats you up, that torments you.
Yeah. So like, let's talk about raising kids. Like, go back to raising kids.
Yeah.
Before you had your Ethan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you think you were going to be a perfect parent?
No, I mean, you kind of think, yeah, you'll be great. Obviously, I'll do it so much better than my parents did. That's kind of the. But I don't know if I ever. I don't know. That's a great question.
Did you think Ethan would be perfect?
It's funny. I expect him to be, but no, I don't guess I ever really did.
Right. Like when you sit down and you just common sense, right? Like, they're not going to be perfect. They're probably going to mess up a lot. I'm going to have to correct them, whatever. We probably just shouldn't even have them. But you don't think like that.
That's right.
Because it's life.
Yeah.
And it's part of the journey, and you love it. Like being a parent, you love it. You make mistakes, but it's part of it, and all you can do is improve to get better. But that when it comes to like personal improvement, people are like, oh, I don't want to do it because I'm just going to fail. And then you don't do it. And then you never give yourself the opportunity to improve on something.
Yeah.
In that message, when I was talking about failure, it was dealing with Peter, the disciple of Jesus.
Yeah.
What if Jesus, when he called Peter was fishing, and he says to Peter, follow me. What if Jesus says, hey, follow me, and by the way, you're going to deny me 3 times, and it's going to be the most embarrassing thing in history, and it's going to be recorded so that for thousands of years, you're looked at as the person who denied me 3 times. Mm-hmm. Follow me. Come on. Peter would have been like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I don't, hold on. Mm-hmm. That's like a pretty big failure you just talked about. So that's in scripture though, to show us like this failure was common all the time. But then Peter's the one who stands up on the day of Pentecost after Jesus is resurrected and the Holy Spirit comes down. Peter gives this gospel message and it says, and 3,000 people were added to their number on that day. Mm. Well, when did that happen? On the other side of failure.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So anyway, I just think that's an example of stuff in the Chase the Sunset that I just think people need to hear.
Absolutely.
That will just be what I'll be airing. So that'll start in January 2026.
Man, that's awesome.
Chase the Sunset. You can go to YouTube, Josh Huisman, and subscribe there now. And it'll be on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all that fun stuff too, once I get some stuff cleared up. But it's all based on a song that started it for me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, as we bring this episode to a close, Josh, are there any final thoughts, any final words for this year's Christmas season? It's a bright and happy and joyful time for so many, but on the other side, it's that much darker for some folks too. It's the first time you're having that holiday without a child, or without a husband or a wife or a loved one, or whoever knows how much, or it's the first time doing it without your job, or there's just everybody's situation's a little bit different. And what message would you have for those folks out there this year, this Christmas season, 2025? I guess to really just make the most of it.
Yeah. To me, so going back to the very beginning of the episode, when we talk about like what does Christmas mean? What does it mean to us when the lights go up and the whole thing? And it's really a reminder of Jesus, that he came into this world. Mm-hmm. What I've learned more and more is I want to have the joy of the Lord in my life. Mm-hmm. Christmas can bring that out. But having the joy of the Lord in your life is a fight. Like you have to want it.
Yeah.
Right. And so you can wake up in the morning and sadness will want to creep its way in. Mm-hmm. But joy is over here as an option too. But you have to fight for joy. Sadness, darkness just creeps in there. Right. Yeah. And, I would just encourage people to fight for joy. I think of Paul in scripture, the scripture that says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That actually comes from where he says, I've found the secret to be content in all things, whether I'm in prison, whether I'm beaten, whether I'm in troubles, whatever. I've found the secret to be content in all things, that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I find my joy in the Lord and not in the circumstances. Does that make
That's
sense?
absolutely.
So I would just encourage people to do that. I know it's hard. I have my days to believe that.
Why is it so much easier to choose the opposite of joy or gratitude? Why is it so hard to be grateful? Being grateful for something is something it's 100% intentional.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Why is it that it's so much easier to fall to the negative, fall to the bad, fall to the, that's just the way it is for me. Just the whole negative thing.
Yeah. It's just all around us. I mean, and I think one of the hardest things, we do compare ourselves quite a bit to other people, and we compare ourselves to things that are happening in other people's world. It's so easy to get caught up in the things that you don't have or you don't feel you have, and things can get dreary, can play on your emotions, whatever. But it's funny you say that, because I have a friend who wrote a worship album that's all about gratitude. And in my journal, my prayer journal each morning, before I even start reading, I have to write out thankfulness.
Yeah.
Thankfulness to the Lord for something. And that's that fighting for joy, right?
Yeah.
So I don't have a good answer for why it's easier. I just know that it is easier to go negative.
It is. It so is. As a parent, again, you just learn so much from being a parent, man. Just watching your kids and I don't know. It's such a great gift and such a great reminder. I always wonder, where would I be if I hadn't had kids? And it's not. It's a much darker. I truly believe it would be a much darker, less spirit-filled place, less aware, less everything.
Yeah.
Because maybe I wouldn't have found a good reason to become somebody that I feel would want to make God proud, or in his path, man. So I don't know. Being a dad is the greatest thing ever, dude. And I just it's just a nonstop education, and I love it. It's just such a great education.
Yeah. Well, one last thing I would say too, if you do find yourself feeling down or upset, or something's going on in your life, whatever, just one encouraging thing is Christmas can help with this. You talked about going out and seeing the lights, but honestly, a change of scenery, right?
Yeah.
Like just changing the environment and doing whatever you can to, again, it's movement, it's fighting for the, don't sit and be stagnant and wallow in something.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Move and get something flowing inside of you and find that joy, right?
Absolutely. It's out there. It's out there, but you do have to seek it. It's not going to walk up and slap you in the face and say, "Here I am."
Yeah. Yeah. Amen. Amen to that. Well, thank you, man, for having me on. I really appreciate the robe and the belt and the 5 times and the whole thing. I'm going to speak that into existence, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So it's been fun, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. And, this is the 4th time we've come together for the Hitstreak Christmas episode. So it's something I'm incredibly proud of. It's the only intentional, just non-Hitstreak episode that we have in the entire year. 200 and as we sit today, it's 212 episodes have come out. By the time this one comes out, it's going to be probably around 217, 218-ish, give or take. So it's just crazy. Out of 217 or 18 episodes, these 4 episodes are the only ones that are aimed a little different. They have a little bit of a specific purpose.
Yeah, I love it.
Means a lot to me, for sure. Finding the right health plan can feel overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. Backed by over 12 years of experience and more than 20 national and local awards, Team Hyder is here to help you navigate your options and choose a plan that fits your family's needs and your budget. Visit teamhyder.com today to schedule your consultation and get the coverage that you deserve. Once again, the senior pastor of Crosswalk Church, the host of the Chase the Sunset podcast, Pastor Josh Huisman, joshhuisman.com, and on social at josh.huisman, and online you can check out the Crosswalk at crosswalktn.com, and on socials at Crosswalk Church TN. Folks, it's always a pleasure. And Josh, you just want to look at the camera right there? Let me switch it to you. Just wish everybody Merry Christmas. All right,
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody. Thank you for listening to the episode. And you don't have to come to Crosswalk Church this Christmas, but if you're in the area of Nashville, come and say hello to us. But I want to encourage you, go find a place of worship and give thanks to Jesus for coming into this world. He became flesh and dwelt among us. So Merry Christmas, everybody.
There you have it, folks. I couldn't think of a better way to bring our 4th annual Christmas episode to a close, right? So, folks, once again, thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Hitstreak. I am your man, Nick Hyder. Folks, Merry Christmas. God bless.